The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. We have a good one for you today as we're going to be joined by the coach himself. So one-handed, two-handed, pick your poison. He has something for you. And Stu having a few internet issues, so he'll join us as we go. But as usual, I am Barnzy, as you can see by the name down there. And we probably won't waste much time because why would you want to listen to me? So we will be joined by four-time titleist. He was the 1968 Average Award winner. Maybe a little after that, maybe 85. He's a high average award winner. He's been an All-American. He's wrote a book. He's done a video. He's done another book and another video. The man, the myth, the legend, world-renowned coach, Mark Baker. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Chris. I'm doing just fine.
Man, so for those of you who don't know, this you've done another video, actually a couple of them. You can find a lot of that now on some YouTube shorts that you're doing. Where would they find that to get a little leader on this?
If you wanted to buy the videos, I did a one-handed and a two-handed instructional video. The one-handed, I brought in Dave Husted, Chris Prather, and Danielle McEwen. And for the two-handed video, I went right to the top. I brought in Jason Belmonte and Anthony Simonson, some of the best coaching of my careers in that two-handed video. You just go to my website, markbakerbowling.com. You click on the Games Changed video series. It takes you to Vimeo. You select whether you want the one-handed or the two-handed. Quite a few people have bought both videos, so that's how you would do that.
All right. And the name of your video?
The Games Changed video series.
So we need to do another Baker Barnes clinic in Texas. Well,
those are, I think those will be coming around again here pretty soon. Try to get our schedules, obviously with you bowling so much and being involved so much with Ryan's career and doing things at home and now Linda back bowling, you've been busy and I've been managing to stay fairly busy here in California, giving a few lessons.
Yeah. So as you can see over his shoulder, he's at the Westpac Training Center. Where's that located?
I am located in Orange, California. For those who are baseball fans, I'm about a mile from Anaheim Stadium. If you're a hockey fan, I'm about a half a mile from where the Anaheim Ducks play. So I'm right in the middle of Orange County, right where all the freeways come together. So it's been a very fortunate place to work.
And you're set up there?
Yeah, I've got two private lanes, and I have both Specto and Strike Seeker. So you get all the data points, and more importantly, I think the video bowlers are very visual. They try to, understand what they're doing to match their feel. So the Strike Seeker, getting to see every shot you throw, both good and bad, has really, really helped me as a coach, and it's obviously helping my bowlers.
Big Angels Ducks fans there, so.
There aren't many Angel fans left. Even I've turned into a Dodger fan. It's kind of hard not to cheer for Mookie and Shohei.
Yeah. JP wants to know, what are your rates for lessons these days for the virtuals?
The virtuals, I have a couple different packages. You can buy 6, you can buy 2, or you can buy 1, or you can buy a refresher. So it's all on my website. You just click on the virtual lessons. It gives you 4 different price points. And then it tells you exactly how to film the videos, where I want them filmed, the angles I want them filmed, the frame rate of your camera, all that good stuff. So I did a pretty good job on that. I gave you a little tutorial where to film from. So yeah, there's 4 different rates for that. I think the most popular package is the 2 lessons, and that's $150.
And you can find that at that website.
Correct. Just click on the virtual lessons.
Mark Baker.
Right after you buy the video. There's Stu.
Hello. Just one second. There we go. All right. So, being as none of these people are asking any questions, I'm going to use this time for me because, like, I'm all about me. So it feels like as I'm throwing it at the minute, I feel like I'm more on the top of the ball as I'm coming down rather than more behind it. What do you think would be the major cause for that?
That's early weight transfer. So if your timing spot's a little bit early, or your weight gets onto your left leg too soon, what happens is your power source becomes your shoulder. And when that shoulder goes forward, there's how your body functions. How I put it is there's two things at play: how your body functions and throwing a bowling ball. The reason why the pros look so amazingly good, they've maximized how their body functions as they happen to be throwing a bowling ball. Just about everybody else throws a bowling ball in spite of how their body functions. That's why they fight balance, and that's why they fight consistency. If you watch the pros in person, they look like they're barely trying. So if your hand's on top of the ball going into your slide, you had that weight transfer. So now your body functions where your shoulder goes forward. So your hand goes on top, and no matter what you want to do, your hand won't stay behind it. That's mainly early timing or early weight shift forward.
Yeah, and like, can it be because I'm leaning? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Because when your head goes forward, Stu, it brings you the distance between your shoulder and your chin never changes. So your shoulder controls your thumb. So if your shoulder, like Chris talks about keeping his shoulder back, well, your shoulder staying back allows your hand to stay back. Once I move my head forward or I get tilted, this shoulder's coming with it. And once that shoulder goes forward and I abduct that shoulder socket, that thumb's going on top of the ball.
Yeah, no, it's just it's kind of interesting. Like one of the games, so to speak, that I play with myself when I'm practicing is I'll take tape out of the thumb hole, because if I have really good timing, it doesn't matter how big the thumb hole is, I'll always hold on to the ball. But if I start to get steep, it'll feel like I can't hold on to anything.
Yeah, you feel like it's falling off.
So I feel like when I'm practicing with the thumb a little too big is actually quite useful, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, one, it comes off your thumb faster, so it's easier to like sort of train your hand a little bit anyway. But for me, it's mainly to try and get my body alignment right, so that I feel like, like you've got that Norm Duke thing where it feels like he's got a flat spot that's about his entire approach.
100% correct.
So for any guys out there, if you want to try that, it's kind of an interesting feel to start with, because the first few you'll feel like, oh my God, I can't hold on to it. But once you get your timing like synced up a little bit better, it does make it a little easier. And it's instant feedback, because I don't know about Chris, but it's kind of hard to feel when you're steep. Like, like the pins tell you, your ball reaction
your ball reaction will tell you.
But at the same time, sometimes it's not always as obvious.
No, I mean the biggest tell for me is it feels like it's not in my hand. You feel like you can't catch it at the bottom as much as you want.
Yeah.
But you can get used to it pretty quick and just start grabbing at it to make up for it. You've seen different guys over the years. At one point, O'Neill was steep. He started changing his pitches, got way forward with his thumb to fix a problem that. Yeah, I mean, it's just because he just gotten a little steep. He got a little forward, and so he felt like it was falling off his hand, and so he got himself locked up in the ball for a little while. Then got his body back in position again, and he had a little tough time letting go of it. Didn't last very long. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You could do almost anything if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're smart enough to tuck ourselves into and out of just about anything.
So, have you got any camps coming up, Bakes?
Yeah, I do. This weekend I fly to Maine for the PBA League, and then my next camp, Bakes, is October 15th through the 18th. We sold that out. Got a pretty good crew. Got all the balls ordered and the shirts ordered and the rooms paid for. So it's getting to the fun part of camp where I actually just get to do the coaching. So getting into logistics are always the hard part, but now it's getting to the fun part.
So where's that one at?
That's at Sunset Station. It'll be my 43rd Camp Bakes.
How many of those you sold out?
I'm getting old. What's that?
How many of those have you sold out?
All of them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you always end up having one or two that don't show up or have, things happen. Yeah. Right. So, for the most part, they're sold out. It's sold out now.
Chris, thanks for the super chat. I'm turning 50 this week. I'm using around 325 to every 350 revs and around 16 miles on the monitor, so 18 and a half. Anything I should do to be better with rev?
I've never seen a rev rate go up. It's just not an easy thing. Those numbers actually match pretty good. I see when people try to increase their rev rate. I know Chris went through that for a year or two. We tried that. Usually when you increase your rev rate, all you do is increase the amount of shoulder you throw at the ball. So you tend to lose accuracy and you tend to have a very inconsistent rev rate, where one shot you'll catch it and get it to say 400, and then you'll get it down back to 325. So on the getting the one shot higher but not being consistent, it really works against you for score. So the rev rate to me is more about how consistent it can be. If you look at a guy like Tackett, on some of those shows he's on, he can put it on 510 almost every shot, 510, 511, 509. When you're that consistent, your rev rate, then you have a 5 in front of it. That makes it a pretty cool rev rate.
Certainly does with the way the lanes are.
That we're all a product of our environment. Every segment of bowling on tour, it's always everybody kind of adapts to whatever they throw at us. The best bowlers in the world will always adapt to whatever's out there. And there's always going to be some people.
I'm not sure about that anymore.
Huh?
I'm not sure about that anymore.
No.
I think that the field, the position of the people in the field adapts to what the conditions do. I don't think the field adapts. Like, it used to be very definite that the top 10 were the top 10, and it isn't like that at all anymore.
Wow.
In my opinion. Like, I think that the three or four guys are really good. I think that they're in a situation where they almost don't need to ever think about what they're doing. And
then 5 through 20 is more up in the air.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, Bill and Dom are the best example. They literally never bowl well the same year.
That's an interesting fact.
And they're both really good.
Really good.
It's just when it's Dom's thing, he's the best one-hander. And when it's Bill's thing, or outside of EJ, obviously. And when it's Bill's thing, he's kind of that guy. But it ain't ever them together.
I did not know that. Yeah, I don't go on tour anymore. You guys don't come to the West Coast much at all, if at all, 1 week, but not like you did before. Or I could go watch for 5 or 6 or 10 days and you can see it. So the only time I get to see you guys bowl is Maine, really, when I come out to Maine. So
and it's not
I'm probably not the right person to be making comments about what the tour. That's always what it was. Obviously, things always change. But now, what I'm seeing a lot coming from the juniors in Europe, this two-handed backup thing is, I've been studying that because I got to get where I can teach it because it's impressive. So the game's always kind of
they're making Simo look like he doesn't look at it all on the backup shots.
I mean, some of those kids from Sweden, it's pretty impressive. And another thing I'm getting a whole new group of bowlers called a hybrid. So the newest thing I'm coaching now is for first 3 steps, they're two-handed. And then right when the ball gets to their right, if they're right-handed, when their ball gets to the right hip, if you're built like I am, real broad across the shoulders, not thin, not very not very limber, they're taking their left hand off in like their 3rd step, and then they turn into Tom Doherty for the last 2. So it's Belmo for the first 3 steps and Doherty for the last 2 steps. Well, that's gone from like once a year to like once a day. I mean, yesterday I had 3 guys like that because there's no thunder balls to get that high rev rate.
Aggie says, saw the clip about the two-handed, one-handed hybrid. That's how I bowl due to left shoulder reach issues. Any more tips? Also tips on where to aim and stand using the Baker box.
There's not, I mean, it's just more of there's no really tip to it. I haven't done the ball should definitely, your left hand should definitely come off as the ball's reaching your right hip if you're right-handed. That part I've got, because that way you're using your left hand to control your swing because it's, you got to be strong. Doherty's really strong. To put the 15 pounds in one hand and just kind of arm it up and back and have it sit in your palm without flipping around. So the left hand I get where they use it here and then they just have to have up to their backswing and down. Where to stand and aim on the Baker box, your best bet's to buy the video because there is no one spot to stand. It's just how to use it depending on what you're bowling on. So the Baker box kind of stays where I believe it stays for especially, 99% for league. So that spot down there is a spot. So you have to determine where you're playing the lane. So there's no there's no anywhere you stand, you should be able to use the Baker box.
Just a little bit of a testimonial, I guess. Brian, one of our friends, says, I bought Mark's video in April and it showed an obvious weakness in my game. I started standing up straighter in the setup and made 3 of the 6 cuts I bowled on the PBA 50 this year. He said, thank you.
Yeah, he bowled really well.
That's awesome, Brian. Thank you very much. I'm glad it helped.
Brian made it like a step ladder too.
Yeah, him and what's his name? Mark Sullivan played the I don't want to bowl on TV game with each other. They passed the hot potato for a while. It was 2 guys who were super nervous on a lane that wasn't very easy.
Yeah.
Shortcut, Brian got a bad break and Mark got a good break, so that's how the match ended. But it could have very easily been the other way round. It wasn't one that I think either of them want to watch back necessarily.
I can relate to a few of those.
Dory says he's 14 pounds. He's not that strong anymore.
Well, I'm not giving it a go. I can tell you that.
You still got to have, you still got to do what Tom does is not as easy as everybody thinks. So that's why I think the hybrid has become more popular, because let your left hand guide the ball to your backswing. I think once it gets to the top and you're if you're in time, once you're at the top and you're in time, it's a big advantage. Not having your thumb in ball, makes the rev rate go up, and the turning the ball early issue is a much less issue.
Casey says, since you haven't been in Modesto in a bit, been struggling with my backspring, wanting to get too high. I guess it's Bartlow?
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, and I work
Casey, I would have to see it. Just a stone cold guess like that. That's how you give out bad tips. Keep working on it's always the same thing for you. Was Casey's always drifts a little bit right. Walk straight, make sure your legs are underneath you a little bit more. Casey's a big dude. Casey's bigger than I am. So he gets it to the top of the swing pretty easy. You just make sure you got your legs underneath you and don't try to overthrow it. He probably throws it 20, 21 pretty easy. He's a big guy. You bowled his dad, Chris. Yeah. His dad was a lefty that has a high average in that place. Yep.
Yeah.
Just but talking about me though, Baker, when you spoke with me about it, the lean causes me a lot of problems with that, right?
Yeah, Casey doesn't lean as much. You did. Yeah, Casey's bigger than I am. Casey's a big dude.
I was really doing it more for the conversation with people about, how you can change your backswing by not really doing anything different other than
like everybody is like the best example would be it was always commented when I bowled how high Pete's backswing was. Well, Pete got to 90 degrees. You push the ball out and as the ball swings back and you keep your head up, and then when the ball goes by you make your head go down. That just gives your hand more height to go up there. So Pete, in his prime, when I was in the 80s, Pete got to 90 with upper body. Well, the swing went straight up. Rick Steelsmith tried to have Pete's backswing, but he didn't tilt his shoulders as far. And that's what happened. I think that's what happened to Rick with his shoulder issues. He wanted Pete's backswing and all what Pete did, and Rick was really, really good. But because Rick didn't do it so far down, I think that's why Rick had more injuries, where Pete never really had an injury. Not that I know of.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because to me, like Kyle Sherman, like when I watch him bowl, has a lot of the same things that EJ does. He gets really side on and everything else, and EJ never gets hurt, and Kyle Sherman's always hurt. It's just it's kind of interesting the way some guys' bodies just.
Yeah, I don't know if that's related because it's Kyle's has more to do with those hip labrum things, but
yeah, I don't know,
but. Yeah, that's an interesting. EJ does turn away. EJ does kind of rotate around. It's just more of a golf.
That's if you watch EJ swing a golf club, that's kind of what it looks like.
He rotates around his spine, and his spine tilt doesn't change, but he rotates around, which is a really tricky thing to do with something that weighs as much as a bowling ball. Most people can't do it very successfully.
He seems to do it without even trying.
Yeah, it seems to work out okay for him. So.
Fun to watch.
GC3 says, I drift right 2 to 5. Well, that's quite a variation. I think I do it to put my head over the ball as it passes. I step off a lot, so I guess he's falling off the shot, but rarely fall. Okay.
I did a thing about what the difference between stepping off and falling off was. So that means his ball's getting past. He's finishing his swing and getting his ball past the arrows, and then he steps to the right. To me, falling off is when you barely finish your follow through and the ball's barely off your hand. You're stepping off to catch the weight of your head. So I don't keep the ball closer to my body for easier balance and it. If you're drifting 2 to 5 right, it's hard to keep the ball too close to your ankle because you're going to hit it. So as you drift into it, your body realigns your shoulders. So obviously, it probably means your timing's early. Drifting right was obviously was taught quite a bit when I was young. I don't think too many guys on the pro. I don't think anybody on tour now drifts right. Do they, Stu?
Not that the only person who I ever recall consistently drifting right who ever bowled any good that I've seen in my time, like while we've been bowling, was Wolf.
Right, Mike Wolf drifted right.
Yeah.
Like other than that, I can't think of it. Yeah.
He walked big left first, and then
he dove back out. Then he came back towards it.
It was a little bit like a two-hander, really, before that was the norm.
Yeah, that's I'd have to see that step, that drifting to the 2 to 5 right. The more you drift back into your swing, that's when they tend to get their people that drift right tend to like playing out because I like to throw it straight. So when they drift right, that bumps their swing out. So when that happens, your hand goes to the outside of the ball. So throwing it straight up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's very easy to do. Like when I bowled on tour, the guys that drifted right were like Voss drifted right, Ozio, Walter Ray, Randy Pedersen, Dave Ferraro. That I just named the best 5 guys playing right at 10. And the guys that all drifted left, the Husteds and the Plombies and the Holmans and the Roths, if I put myself in there, we all drifted left. We all like playing left of third arrow. So that's kind of what happens.
And now everybody drifts left and everybody plays left.
You guys bowl on. I have a hard time explaining that to my juniors, how much more hook you guys bowl on than my generation. They hooked. They started out in the morning. We kind of had to reverse what you did when I first went on tour. They really hooked and then we warmed up. We bowled on chloronite back ends. And then we would move about 20 right by the end of the third game. Then they would get really easy. And then the next squad would bowl their 6 games after our 6 games. And then another 6 games. So when I came back at B squad bowling the 20th game that day, I got into fifth arrow with the blue dot. You guys do it in 45 minutes in a practice session. I've watched it. I was in Columbus watching. It was EJ and Marshall and Belmo in the same pair warming up. I sat there with a stopwatch. Those 3 guys went from playing 6, 7, 8 to fifth arrow in 21 minutes in one practice session. I'm like, okay, we did the exact same thing, but we did it over a course of 20 games. They did it over a course of 20 minutes. So it's hard to explain how fast your crew breaks them down.
Cycling back around here now.
Rate's so high.
So the answer for GC is to basically start walking a little straighter.
Yeah, you want to trying to get your head over the ball as it passes. I wouldn't worry about that. I would try to keep your breastplate more at your break point and try to walk straight. Feel like somebody's got their hand on your right shoulder and you're just trying to walk straighter. That'll free up your swing. I guarantee if you walk straight a little bit left, your swing has a slot to drop into. If you walk right, you're walking into the slot. So you can't drop it in the slot when you're walking into the slot. So all the bowlers walk left. I mean, you see, and then the swings drop in, and that's why all your guys' balls are pretty close to your ankle.
Alan Riley says, Mark, I have Barnes' wallet at my house. I can't seem to get it open at all, so I can't purchase your video.
Oh, well.
Yeah. He's so funny.
See, I always laugh at this, and I hear this all the time, that Chris is beyond frugal. And I've had the pleasure and the privilege to work with Chris a lot of times all over the world. And I'd say Chris is by far, this is for Del Ballard Jr. Chris has bought dinner probably 80% of the time.
I think that me and you, Mark, we're both in the same camp here, but I think that me and you have a common denominator. That not many
Chris
people
money.
do. We make Chris money.
I say Chris would buy me dinner after I handed him an envelope for $1,200. So if anybody wants to get a free dinner out of Chris, you hand him $1,200. Chris will buy you dinner. Is that not a true statement?
I call it friends. You call it.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Best meal I ever got bought was in Thailand, huh, Chris? We teed it up on that, whatever that food was. We got the bill. We did the math, and you bought me a dinner for like $7.
Yeah. Double order.
It was actually really good.
Yeah, 2 entrees each.
2 entrees and 2 drinks. No, the air conditioning wasn't free though.
Well, we did sweat it out.
Yep.
Blue X surface ball suggestions for second, third arrow, left side. house condition. 17 on the monitor, 425, so 19 and a half, 420. That's pretty well matched. A Rhino at box finish, a Shock at 2K, Supersonic, Lane Shine are the go-tos.
I don't really,
you guys.
I was about to say, I don't really understand the question if you already have go-tos. I mean, you've got quite a strange mix there. You've got a Rhino, which is one step above like a tropical breeze. It's not a strong ball at all, and I imagine it came shiny, unless it's the Rhino Pro, I guess. A Venom Shock, which to me is a ball that picks up fairly early, and then a Supersonic, which was a very strong ball. So maybe just hit back and let us know. Oh, here we go. This is why. Sorry.
Yeah.
Struggling with over-under recently. Ended up throwing plastic up the gutter game 3. Right. Okay. I think that you're running into a little bit that you're not really picking your poison. You need to move further right. If you've got 425 revs, you need to move further right and you need a little bit more surface. So maybe something like your Supersonic. I mean, if you're using it, I wouldn't want to change it. But if you're open to using that ball, I think having that with more surface on it, that's the stronger ball of the 3. I think that's going to be
something like it. If you did something new, like a cell or XL.
Although it seems weird, if you're experienced in the over-under, you kind of, in my mind, you've got to move into the oil, use the oil. So to use the oil, you need a stronger ball. We both kind of, when you do that, are on the team of using an asymmetrical ball, because I think that when you miss it in the oil, you actually have a chance of it clipping the light hit for a strike. But that tends to be what we see. That happened, for reference, that happens after about 5 frames on the right side.
Yeah, I remember the other day you guys talked about Frankie figuring that out, where you were starting out with a ball that went pretty straight, and by the 3rd game, you're using your strongest ball. That's becoming way more prevalent out here in California when the lanes get just so wet dry.
Mm-hmm.
See, it doesn't happen at my training center because I don't have much dry. I've only got about a 6-to-1 ratio, and I don't have 5 to 10 as free hook. So my lanes get easier and easier and easier as the day go along. My first lesson is the touchiest. Whereas in league now, the first game is the highest scoring. And then because they start out at 10, 12, 14, at my camp, I hear from proprietors, Doug starts out like a 24-to-1. You know, people that strike more buy more beer, so they don't make them too hard. So those guys, they get really, really wet dry. Whereas my house does, you start out with a much lower ratio, they get much easier. But that wet dry thing is really, really prevalent out here. And so I'm telling people to do what you guys do. Go back, move in farther left the 3rd game, and go back to the ball you started with or your strongest ball, so you can blend out that wet dry. That's become the go-to.
I mean, it's funny because by far and away the easiest house shot we bowled on, because I bowl all of the pro-ams, because me and Dom, we haven't got anything better to do. We get paid to bowl the pro-ams. It's a bit of fun. So we bowl the pro-ams, and like I'm a pro-am professional. I bowl 900 almost every week. The easiest place, well, we bowled 9-pin no-tap. Okay. By far and away, the easiest place was Anderson. Now, some of that was that the pins hit the wall and they're like a fucking trampoline.
Oh.
You got messengers every shot. But I could use a absolute power or an exponent pearl on that and stand in the same place because they were so blended.
Whoa, I don't see that much anymore.
And Dave came to us and he said, "What do you think of the house shot?" And I go, "I think it's the easiest thing we bowled on all year." And Dave said, "My house shot's 7-to-1."
See?
And none of us could believe it because they were just, you could throw it to about 4 and it'd peel back, and you could throw it to about 14 at the break point and still go through the pins.
So yes, that's basically what I have. That's what I have. The first lesson is always touchy because between 5 and 10, I have enough oil. You get it right at 4 here and it won't hook back. At a training center, I didn't think it was beneficial. The spending the kind of money you're spending to be with me, I didn't want your bad shots to strike. I wanted you to throw it good to get the reaction and the feel you wanted. So I just kept lowering and lowering my ratio and adding out of bounds. And that's what I came up with. I think I'm right at 6 or 7-to-1. So I have, when mine get easy, they stay easy.
Yeah, it's all right. We got a couple more questions coming up. Lavish Apple. My husband's about 300 RPMs, 14 miles an hour on the monitor. Very high tilt and low ball track. He tried a pinky hole, but doesn't seem to need it after switching to 15 pounds. What is your opinion on pinky holes? The only person I've ever seen use it is Dick Allen.
Mark Williams did it for a while. There's some guys with some finger tendon issues I've seen use it to alleviate it, and seems to be useful. Well, roommate in college uses it because he's had some massive wrist finger issues, but and it seems to work fine.
I also took my pinky, so that would be a bit of a problem for me.
Oof. Yeah, can't do that anyway.
I'd have to get a slot or something for it.
Dig a tunnel.
I think what I have noticed, though, is I think that some of the guys who have the pinky holes tend to rotate a little more.
On your hand longer.
Because I don't think it gets off the hand in the same way.
Yeah.
So I could see that it'd be very easy to come over the top of it. And with you talking about him having high tilt and low ball track, I could see that some of that was caused by that.
Maybe I should drill one. I could use a little more Roth and a little less, Janello right now.
How do we tell him, Mark, that it isn't the bull roll?
Nice comparison.
Oh shit! So
Don could roll it. I'll give him that. Don was tough. You make him ugly enough, Janelle was hard to beat.
Yeah.
But that would be my thoughts on it from what I've seen. I think that it does tend to. If Dick Allen was watching it, which he sometimes does, he might have way more useful information for you than we do. But from what I've seen, I think it does make you rotate it a little more. So maybe if he can actually lay his finger down without it feeling totally weird, throw a couple without tucking it, without using the hole you want to be practicing to see if the bull roll's different. It's always my answer to everything. Just try something.
Yeah. Tony can bang. You told a lefty to move their feet right. Here's a fan, Mike F. Sounds like he had a lesson with you. Highly recommend taking an in-person lesson with Mark. I've been in the worst slump of my life, and after just one session yesterday, I now have hope that I can be competitive again. Thanks, Biggs.
Yep. Mike was out here for a couple hours from Redlands. We had a great time together. It's very for you, Chris. He's a very engineer type brain like you are. So I've been coming up with a new method of my either the confidence or the calm, whichever one has to come first. And my engineer types, I have to get their brains a little calm by answering a lot of questions. And once their brain gets a little bit calmer and they think a few less things, they tend to do a lot better. That's how I see Chris is very, very, and I'd see like Tommy would be the other one. Tommy's just supremely confident. So that makes him calm. Nothing seems to bother Tommy. He seems to be a pretty confident guy. Or when your brain got calm, then obviously you could bowl a little bit. So that's my new thing, trying to figure out what side of the coin people tend to be on. So I got to figure out which way to start the lesson. So Mike was very good with that.
Blue Demon says, appreciate the pride. I've been thinking about it exactly backwards. Do you know, until a guy who hadn't been bowling very long said this to me about 2 or 3 years ago, I'd never thought about it like this. He said, sport patterns are the least confusing thing in the world, and the house shot is the most confusing thing in the world. And I just looked at him and I was like, why? I go, it's like a train track to the pocket. He goes, no, because when I miss left, my ball misses right. And when I miss right, my ball misses left on the house shot.
Sport shot's the opposite.
And he goes, not a sport shot. At least he goes, it's like golf. If I hit it to the right, it goes to the right.
Yeah.
I go, and I'm like, well, sort of. Like when you get a bit better, when you hit it on the toe, you tend to hook it and like all those things. So that's kind of interesting. But it was just yeah. I'd never really thought about it like that but when I did start to laugh a little bit. So every time the third game of league when I miss left on a 210, I go, mother.
That guy's right. Been pulling 5 minutes. He gets us more than I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, Mark, quick two-handed question. Keeping the ball as low as possible in the backswing helps greatly. If I lift it quickly, I struggle. Does that make sense?
100%. So what you're talking about, how's the ball goes back. So I'm a big believer in, I use Jason Belmonte as my model for just about every two-handed lesson because he's fundamentally sound. So it's like a swing set. So if you stand tall to the first couple steps and the ball swings back, it comes back very flat. If you get dropped down lower and you try to bring the ball up, I call that the elevator shaft. If you bring it up, you got to bring it down. So then your shoulder throws it forward. So if the ball comes back flat and as the ball goes by you, then you drop your head and your hands go up. Then your hands will come back down flat again. That'll be the way. But if you lift it up, then you have to lift it down. Then your hand tends to, those bowlers, their hands always tend to go to the outside because when your shoulder goes forward, that shoulder and your hand are connected. So your hand, even though your thumb's not in it, when your shoulder goes forward and that hand goes to the outside, a two-hander from the side of the ball they tend to have a way more under over than everybody else. Their ball goes dead straight or dead hook.
Yeah,
so that's
you basically describe what's happened with Wesley.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he did lift it up and when he was like 4'6" or whatever, and that lifting it up gave him great speed. But now that he grew up, he grew a foot. Now he lifts it up and he's actually steep for a two-hander. And for a guy who's always thrown it pretty well and been pretty successful, struggles a lot now.
That happens a lot with the two-handers because they grow so much. I dealt with that with my son Gage, who's gone from about 5'6", 5'7" to he's about right there now. He literally looks me straight in the eye. So we had to work to decrease his spine tilt and make his elbow not go quite so high. Because before, he was a skinny little kid trying to throw a 14, 15-pound ball and then lifting it up so high. Then he got bigger, then he tilted in his swing. He actually got late, which is very unusual for a two-hander. So we're really trying to make his hands softer and his elbow not quite as high. So that's that same thing what happened to Wesley. They got bigger and stronger, so that ball, they can manhandle it. So all of a sudden, his Gage got where his ball wouldn't hook because he was throwing it so fast. So I think that's what happened to Wesley. When I watch Wesley, it just gets going there so fast.
Keeping on that conveyor belt's pretty useful for those guys.
Yep.
I must admit, I didn't know any way to help a two-hander till I watched probably like not even half of your video on the two-handed thing. And then I was like, oh, well, at least I know why the ones I think suck now. The long left arm thing really, I think, is really useful for a lot of the guys. I was talking to Garrett Andrus about that. He's a pretty good bowler going to Wichita State. And we were talking to him about like just feeling like he was extending that left arm. And that was very helpful for him, keeping that left arm kind of straighter. And the guys who really bend that front arm really cause themselves a lot of trouble. Whereas the guys,
timing is timing. You still got to get your, even if you're two-handed, there's still a place where I measure timing for two-handers, and it's the same place that, Belmo and Simo both get there, so it can't be that bad of a place. So if you're going to get there, that left arm, the non-throwing arm has to get to a very specific position. So making it longer gives you more time to get it there. And like Chris said, Bill O'Neill, when I worked with Bill a long time ago, he'd always say it, the more time I have, the better I throw it. If I'm in time, I have time. So that's never really changed. So it's whether it's two-handed or one-handed, you have to have timing, and that long left arm is what I found is the most effective way to get that.
Dory just quickly talking about the pinky hold, extra weight hold. I actually think Dory might have tried messing around with it, but he wasn't trying to do it to help his pinky finger.
No. The inch and 3/8 pinky hole.
3 inches from his ring finger.
Well,
he was like, he added a finger extender to be able to touch it.
He was at steel fingers too. He borrowed that.
Oh God.
GC was explaining that he walks left and then slides right.
That's kind of what it looks like on video, I think. Sometimes like Simo looks like he slides pretty straight. It looks like Jason slides back into it a little bit. They have to drift left to get their left shoulder to clear their right hip. They have to drift left. There's not an option. You can't drift right and be a two-hander because you got to get there has to be no body parts in the way of your downswing to create momentum. So if your left shoulder doesn't clear your hip, whether you're one-handed or two-handed, you can't create momentum. So that they do drift left and then they kind of slide back into a little bit.
And I guess that it's harder to redirect a two-handed swing than a one-handed swing.
Well, when they redirect it, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they redirect, because they lose ball speed. So once you're two-handed and you've got your rev rate up pretty good, and you start losing ball speed and direction, I mean, you don't get 9. I mean, that's the hardest thing. You know, with Gage improving, the more he gets 9 on his bad shots, the more his average goes up. Their good shots are good quickly. That's the biggest advantage, I think, being two-handed. You get to throw those good shots at a much sooner stage in your career than a one-hander would. They can make it do the right thing pretty quick. Their bad shots are a little bit worse than one-handers because they're not as accurate. And because there's such a higher rev rate and more shape on the back, it's more of a violent miss. So when two-handers tend to miss early, it's usually 4, 5, or 6. So as he gets more 9 counts and 8 counts and he leaves more makeable spares, he just gets better. It's not about throwing more strikes. They already threw a lot of strikes. It's just trying to get the bad ones in between them, not quite so bad.
I mean, it's always when you're bowling your best. It's not when you're throwing your most good shots. It's when the difference between your bad shot and your good shot is the
100%.
smallest. I mean, there's obviously a line of demarcation of like what you've got to consider a good shot, but like almost sometimes throwing the best shots kind of puts you in most trouble.
I agree with that. I get asked that all the time. I want to throw all these A+ shots. I said it's the worst thing you can do. All you want to do is throw a lot of, if you're, A shots maybe. If you can just live in the A-, if you rated your shots and they're all A-, you'll pretty much win every tournament. What happens is, especially when I bowl league, every now and then when I bowl, if I would throw 4 or 5 A+ shots out of nowhere in one night, I shot 6.25, 650, because those felt so good. The other 25 shots all felt terrible. If I was throwing A-, they all felt pretty good, and they all kind of went to the same place.
And it's also a way to make yourself super depressed as well, because nobody can throw A+ shots every time.
Tell that guy sitting next to you. We had a few practice sessions where he would get 45 out of 48, and the 3 that weren't perfect, that's the ones he got mad at.
He's a total amateur. Total amateur. I room with PA. You want to talk about a guy who was like literally talked himself off tour because he couldn't throw 10 good shots every game.
You might be right about that.
I'm like, Mop, they're not that difficult on your side when you're going to have a chance. If you can throw 7 or 8 good ones, you'll be fine. I understand that that's not the way to be the best bowler in the world, but it is a way to still make a living. No, Mop, can't do it. Stink.
Knowlton says Dick Allen went away from the pinky hole with the conventional and then added back fingertip and then plugged it again after qualifying last to the doubles event. Or qualifying at the last doubles event, not qualifying last.
I've been using switch grip since the prototype, so about 2003, and I think Chris is about the same.
Yeah, same thing. I was testing them back whenever all that went over. It's 20-ish years ago.
I can tell you for certain, I was the only person using them in Europe for a while.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was kind of fun. Everybody was like, "What's that? Oh, that'll never catch on."
Well,
turns out it did.
Yeah, I was traveling overseas, and so you had to take, at the time you were there, you had to get them drilled, and it was impossible to get an oval thumb drilled when you're in the mid-90s, and explaining to it and the whole thing that was going on. So first he came up with the molds, so we could do that, the executication thing, which was cool. He used that for a while, and then the two companies came up with the switches. There he is.
His track went up, he said. So.
Okay.
There wasn't much room for it to go down, though, was there, Dickie?
Don't be messing with my guy. He's got to throw some big shots for me this weekend.
I was about to say, my track can only go down whatever I do because I already clumped the holes as it is. I'm not Frankie levels yet, but like...
Because you're not drilling the pin downs.
Yes, not that often. Only every now and again. Let's just... I'm probably going to end up having to go. We've got somebody coming to do some work on the house, so they're not here yet, but if I disappear, that's what it is. Thoughts on tucking the pinky finger? I do it. I think it helps me create a little bit more rotation in general. I think it's a comfort thing. Some guys like it. Some guys don't.
I think it hurts, so I don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it when I bowled on tour. I did it the entire time I bowled on tour. But whenever I came home to bowl regionals and PCBs, I untucked it. We had so much more oil at home that I had to get the ball to roll when I bowled on tour because I was still the generation before the synthetics.
Yeah.
We were bowling on the really bad wood. When I tucked my pinky, it got my ball to have more rotation and get it to the front. And then a lot of us tucked our pinky because Mark Roth did.
Yeah.
You know, he was.
I think that it's from what I've seen, the guys who took it one knuckle tends to be better. I think if you took it two, I think it gets you. It really affects your grip. You have to have a really
the ball
short
sit
grip.
so much higher in your hand. Like a smoke cone.
Well, the guys are here, so I am going to have to love you and leave you. Thanks, guys. I will see you next week. Well, maybe I won't. All right. Thanks, Bakes. Take it easy.
Too. Yeah, I always tucked it to the first knuckle. Roth did the second knuckle. I tried that. It felt like I was breaking my finger.
Yeah. I guess
Leanne Barrett did it. She tucked it to the second knuckle. I just
automatically thought that's what they were doing. And so, yeah, you mean you can feel your hand as you tuck it to that second one. It does pull your whole hand.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I tried it because, I actually roomed with Mark a little bit. And it just changed where the ball, when I tucked my pinky, my ball set up higher. So my hand got around it easier. When I untucked my pinky, whether you have your hand like this or like that, it made the ball sit here. When I tucked it, it made the ball sit up higher, so I could get around it easier. Especially because we bowl, they just hook so early. So I never did it at home because we had oil in the front. So then I would untuck it to get the ball to roll faster. But I never had the ability to get it. The only person I ever saw any good at it was Leanne and Mark. That second knuckle, I can't tuck my pinky. If I tried to tuck my pinky now, my hand would fall off. I don't really bowl much anymore. So
DMF, first time bowling a sport pattern league. The next pattern is 38-foot Holman. Any suggestion of ball choice or how to play the lanes? Urethane, I'm two-handed, around 16.5 miles an hour on the monitor. Assuming your rev rate's high, urethane's kind of the cheat code on almost all of the sport patterns that are under 40 feet, 42 feet sometimes, even if your rev rate's high enough or if your ball speed's slow enough. But, I mean, you always check the gutter. And generally speaking, when they run these sport patterns in a house, especially if it's the first time, the gutter will still have a little friction on it left over from the house pad. And so, they'll play from out a little better than they will after they run 2 or 3 or 4 times. But, you're looking at, even if you use like the rule of 31, which it is what it is. But, you're at 7-8. If you have the tracers down lane, you're going to be around the last tracer a little bit to the right of it. As that pattern gets down to 41, 42 feet, that's where the Baker box thing comes into play. Well, it comes into play all the time, but the Baker box will move closer to you and a little to the right as that pattern gets shorter. I don't even speak for you.
Yeah, but that's pretty close. The way I look at this, I have a sports shot chart. We haven't really finished the video on that yet. But my 38 feet, I'm closer to 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7. So down there, and I always add a number so I would put where I put my tape. So 38 feet, I would add a 4. So 42 feet, I put the tape at between 5.5 and 9.5. Yeah. That's I'm trying to give you 3 things with the Baker box. I want obviously accuracy, consistency of release, and the most important thing I think is feedback. So the reason why I put tape on my lanes, if you get it through the tape, it tells you what you're doing. If you throw through the tape 2 or 3 times in a row and you don't get the reaction down lane you want, well, that makes it fairly simple. I need to move or switch balls. I think bowlers have a very hard time understanding distance because the ball's traveling away from you so much. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have the down lane markers, you've got to really train your eyes to understand distance. About the only person who's ever walked in stone cold and ever knew the distance, Chris, was you. And you actually studied the lane and understand all the distances. Most bowlers, for one, they're never allowed to walk down a lane. So the training center is kind of cool. I take them down to the back, and then it's always, when they go down the back of the lane and they look back, you know what they always say? They're always amazed how thin the lane is. Because it doesn't look super skinny from the foul line because there's a bunch of lanes. Well, like my place has a little separation. I take them down to the masking unit or the curtain, and I have them look back up to the foul line. The first thing everybody says, like, wow, the bowling lane's actually not very wide, is it? It's not near as wide as you think, but the tape's wider than you think. So they get to see a different perspective. So trying to have 38 feet, and I try to, explain how, distance works. So you're trying to get feedback where that ball has to be in a very specific spot. because bowlers tend to get right of where I think the tape should be with a lot of rotation. Then they move right, and then they really, really roll it, and they're a little left of the tape, so their ball goes dead left or dead right. Welcome to bowling nationals.
Yeah.
Right, and you watch other guys that bowl good, wherever that little spot is down lane, I think, and you guys are throwing it through that window on that ball rolling forward every time, then you get the reaction you want.
I think we understood shape, but I didn't really understand distance and know exactly what distance was, so I started doing the flying eagle thing.
Right, you had to get your ball to a very specific spot.
Well, I didn't know
they're currently bringing glass in, so I just need to be out their way. We're Brady proofing the upstairs is the scenario. We have a 2-story, but we have one of those things where it looks down over the living room. And Tina came out, and Brady was sat on the shelf looking down.
Oh,
so we're solving that issue, shall we say? When he gets home from school today and he goes to throw something and it clangs back off the glass, he's going to be kind of pissed. He likes taking aim from upstairs with his toys and throwing them down at people. So, just quickly, what you were talking about you're talking about the length of the patterns and stuff. The time I really remember, we bowled on Badger when it was 52 feet in Shawnee. And I never really put together where 52 foot was in my mind. And Andres put his coffee cup on the lane where the pattern finished. And it was almost underneath the masking unit.
Correct.
And I was like, that's a long way.
The oil was past where I put the pin for the flying eagle.
Yeah.
That's how far down it was. I mean,
because the masking unit's very deceiving from the foul line.
Well,
I go back there and the mescac, it's like 5-6 feet up from the head pin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at the masking unit for your distance, that's a bad place to look. So that was very good.
The old places were 3 or 4 feet, and then they started putting those, the stanchions out in front so you could put boards or
right
to look better, and it became a very visual. It could fool you.
Yep.
I actually think not to plug it so much, but like Flanagan did a video with Brian O'Keefe breaking down the markings on the lane and how far they were and what board they were on, and that was actually quite interesting. He sort of told you, where the rangefinders started and where they finished and all of that. I thought that was quite interesting when they did that. It was
anytime you learn more about the surface you're actually playing the sport on.
Yeah,
I always tell people, if you don't know how the distances are, it's like playing football and not knowing how long a first down is. Hey, Mr. Referee, we got 7 yards. How do we do? Well, you get to kick and try again next time, but I'm not going to tell you how far it is. So you got to kind of know where all that is. I mean, the pins are in a very specific spot. They're at 60 feet. They want to get hit from a very specific angle. You better figure out how to get the ball to that angle.
I mean, the other thing as well is like when you lay the pins down on the floor and people understand, they're like, how do I ever spare the 2-8? Because they just don't realize quite how far the 2-pin is from the 8-pin.
Far back, yeah.
Like, it's kind of interesting. Pete, I've scrolled through. Did you actually put up a question somewhere else and we didn't see it? If you did, just message back because I don't know what balls is. Balls and layout racks for super dry lanes, 100 righty, 300 RPMs, 15 miles an hour, LBO or high road hybrid, lightning blackout or hybrid. Weakest balls in my bag are Ruby, Exponent Pearl, and the Rip. I don't think that you will notice any difference if you're bowling on super dry lanes between a lightning blackout, a high road, or any of the balls you have right now. They're not different enough. They all have fairly similar covers. For me, once the lanes get really dry, the 2 keys, Chris might see it differently, but for me, the 2 keys are how quickly the ball responds to dry and how strong the cover is just overall. Like the layouts, almost meaningless when the lanes get super dry because the ball just transitions so quickly from the cover touching the lane. That's where I like something like one of those tropicals, but like one of the solid ones. because it's a little bit slower response. Because I think that's one of the misconceptions. When you watch the pros bowl at the Masters and you watch the amateurs bowl at the Masters, the pros actually sometimes use stronger balls on the burn because they want them to respond slower to the friction.
Yeah,
well, the friction's closer to you.
More. Yeah.
So actually, at the Masters, when you bowl on the burn squad, the high road actually gets offline quicker than the gem because it hits the dry and it responds so quick to it that it never gets to the next bit where there's some oil. So that
and
kind of
responds too much to the oil as well, and so it becomes almost uncontrollable.
Yes, 100%. So for me, balls that skid a lot in general are fast response, and fast response means how quickly they respond to friction. So if the friction is really close to you, they're going to hook really early. Like, that's just kind of the way it is. So the high road, the Ruby, the Exponent, Solid, and the Rip have, I'm not saying the same, but similar covers. I would look, which color tropical did you have, Chris? That purple and
the dark one. It's almost black. Yeah. And I like that one, actually. I've actually started using it. I used it quite a bit in some amateur tournaments where they really hook. And if I can forget about the numbers, because I'm such a numbers freak about how IRG it is, it doesn't roll like it's, super high RG, super weak. It actually, but it does give me more continuation. It doesn't, it lets me get it further down the lane when they really hook.
I mean, I think that was one of the things that you struggled with the most when you changed from Ebonite to Storm. We had this conversation a couple of times where you're just like, but this is a high RG ball. Why is it so early? And I was like, Chris, you've got to understand, like, it's way more cover than it is
it's
weight block.
The perception and the reality between the two brands, was vastly different. And things that EBI Hopkinsville they just couldn't get away with a 255 core. It just rolled terrible. And as many times they tried to make a high road or anything like that, it always rolled bad when it got over about 252. And Storm has always been able to make those higher RG balls that still rolled good and still continued shape. And well, to be honest, we could use a few more of those right now.
Felix says, "Do you do any Saturday clinics at Fountain?"
I haven't, Felix, since I've been working here at the training center. I haven't. I talked to Barry 2 or 3 times a week. That was a great thing we did for a long time. I know Barry still. There's a clinic every Saturday at Fountain Bowl, 12:15 to 2 o'clock. I think it's $20. We did it was $10 back in the day. It's $20. It's a great deal. Barry and I did it for 10 years. We probably did it, 40 weekends a year. But the training center has just become a thing of its own. So my Saturdays are usually anywhere between 8 or 10 hours of lessons. So it's just, I can't get it's close as Orange County, as close as Fountain Bowl is to me. It's an hour each way. So it's an hour drive each way, then 2 hours of coaching. So I'm missing a 4-hour window of coaching here. And financially, this is a better thing for my family. And, bottom line.
Guys, my backswing, I've come behind my back too much. How do I correct this? I've shortened my backswing to not do this, but didn't solve it.
Usually that's caused by getting down too low in your push away. So once you drop your shoulders like a fulcrum and you push it out, if you watch all the pros, they all have pretty much one thing in common. They all stand up their first couple steps. Very few of them have a lot of knee bend. They're very tall. They push it out. The ball swings back. They tilt their heads and their hips only drop once. Most amateurs drop their hips in their push away. So when you drop down early, the ball in essence becomes dead. There's no swing. It's a swing set. If you push the kid out on a swing set and there's a bar in the chain, the kid's the ball. You push the kid out, the kid swings back. So a lot of bowlers push the ball out in their push away. Then they drop their hips in their downswing on their second step. So you take the bar in a swing set and you drop the bar, the kid doesn't swing, it crashes. So that's what's happening to your swing. So if you drop down, the only thing you can do is pull the ball up. And when you pull the ball up, it's always going to go to the center of gravity of your body. So when I pull the ball up with my shoulder, I'm pulling it up. So it tends to make my feet kind of slow because if you're pulling something backwards, you can't go forward. So the pros have such nice footwork. They stay tall. They push it out. That allows them to walk by it, and the ball swings up pretty much on line. That's the biggest difference I see when people get their ball behind their back. It has to be pulled. The ball won't swing naturally into the middle of your back. My arm swings like on a hinge. So for my arm to get to the middle of my back, I have to open up my shoulder and pull it back there. That's only caused by not having a swing. So I try to stay a little taller in your push way, and make sure your push way is always at least about on line with your target, maybe a board left of your target. People tend to push the ball outside their target line.
I use this, by the way, I use a Tropical Surge Midnight. That's the one I like. Hey, I want to address this one real quick too.
Okay. Wait. Yeah.
Yeah. The 4.6 and the 3.10 are not the same distance apart. The 3 pin's the same place as the 9 pin. As far as a left to right distance. So those are not the same distance apart.
I can go measure. I got tape measure on my desk.
3
I measure everything.
9 are pretty much in
I've never
line.
heard that one before. Dan, I will be doing it as soon as we're off this show. I'll be back there with my tape measure, and by the next show, I'll have the real numbers, whether they equal or not. I've never heard that, so now I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from front to back, if you had that in, maybe.
I think that's what he meant.
Okay.
I meant from the dot where the 3 sits to the dot where the 10. I'm just going to measure middle of dot to middle of dot when we're done. I want to know. I didn't.
310 is, I guess it would be. Yeah.
If you make them all triangles.
Because aren't they all the same distance apart?
Yeah.
They are. Yes.
So, yeah, it's 30 inches or whatever it is.
Yeah, so there's one spot in between both of those.
Because your eyesight, you think it's closer.
Hey.
There you go.
For Dan, fuck you, Chris.
Yep.
So basically, Chris, you joined the PBA 50 tour. So now you got a whole new group of guys giving you shit?
Oh, yeah.
Let me just quickly swing back to Tommy. You can try your mix. Yeah. You said you're using my mix. I honestly think though that you're going to struggle to change the surface on the balls you have if you're already struggling with that. I think that going to something with a weaker cover and a smaller core overall, I think would be a good option for you. So we recommend the Tropicals. Because we know those Tropical Surges, we know that they're like a decent step down. What's happened over time is a lot of the companies have ended up making their weakest balls stronger every time. So there isn't really that many balls that are really, really weak anymore. They've kind of just taken the slightly older technology from the mid-range balls and moved it down.
Yeah, because unless you bowl tournaments now, they rerun them all the time. But we bowl a few places where they don't. those weaker balls that you don't use on tour at all, or very rarely, are in play really quickly. Frost, if I'm tracking over the outside edge of the thumb hole, is it because I'm coming around the side of the ball versus behind it? It probably means you're backloading it a little bit.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. That would be my guess.
It's because you get on the side of the ball too early.
And then try to roll it. Get it back up and then get it back in control.
You don't really have to. Everybody thinks about it like it's almost like a full roller, like the guys in the past who would go like this, like that. It only has to be a little bit, and it does it. Take it from someone who knows. Over time, I've worried about the track. Baker has his thing about the best way to become a bad bowler is to worry about your left arm and what it's doing. We've had that conversation a lot of times. Like, should it be here or here? Mine is worried about your ball track. Like, if it's working, try to change where you track. It's the best thing in the locker room. Like, after a block, when people are bowl bad, all the guys who spin the shit out of it say, man, all the guys at the top are rolling it. And all the guys who roll it say, man, all the guys at the top really rotate the shit out of it. I need to do that more. Every time. Everybody wants to do what they don't do. So I think that for me, being as this is very what happens to me, it's worse for me when what Mark's talking about, that shoulder gets forward because my hand automatically goes on the side of it. And my brain knows that my hand's not supposed to be there, and I try to save it. I know when I'm bowling well, my track is a little lower. There's basically a whole line between where the track starts. I could have at least another track line before hitting the thumb when I'm getting my hand in a better spot. It is fighting a battle that's almost not worth it, though. You just worrying about it too much is very stressful. Yeah.
Well, it's consistent. I think it's generally fine.
I mean, there is a point where it is a little ridiculous when it's like thumping the fingers and the thumb. But you're not usually successful doing that unless your name's Frankie. Larry, he says, just saying hello to Triple B. Beef Barnzy and Bakes.
Hello, Larry.
Larry was down at Houston.
Yes.
Tom ball.
No lack of effort on Larry's part.
No, he put in the time.
Yeah, Larry's a really good dude. Super generous.
Yeah. There's only one. You have the ability to set up pin combinations in your center and shoot spares. Which combination would you shoot the most? The 3, 6, 10. I don't know if there's any spare that will give guys more trouble than that one.
Makes sense.
210.
Well, yeah, I guess it's what you. Yeah, that is your lead, Morses. Yeah, the 3-pin leaves are mine. So
I am in the extreme minority. When I leave the 3, 6, 10, I in no way ever get stressed about it. Like the 3, 6, 10 isn't one that causes me too much trouble.
You do make it a lot. Way more than the tour average.
I remember 2 seasons ago when me and Don were being super competitive with the Lane Talk stats when it was super easy to get the stats. Norm ripped the phone out of my hand because I was 32 of 33 for the season. And he looked at me and goes, how is that even fucking possible? And when Norm Duke says something to you about that, about spares, then you're like, yeah.
Yeah, the tour average is in the 70s, like low 70s at the 3, 6, 10. You think it's supposed to be an 85 or whatever. It's not.
Because the reason why I set him up really, because I said, Norm, there is something I guarantee that I'm better than you at. And Norm goes, hit me with it. And I said, I'm better than you at shooting the 3, 6, 10. And he goes, not a chance. I go, Norm, you missed 2 today. I've missed 1 on the season. And it was only because I saw him miss it twice.
Yeah. I wasn't sure until then.
Yeah. Then I was like, got you.
Okay, we have a couple here, and then I'm going to have to go. So, right-handed, mid-speed, mid-rev, infinite physics, and hype solid ball recommendation. Wow. Ball recommendations to give me a different look. I like to play the lane straighter when possible.
I mean, there's a lot of balls you could put in between. Like for me, if your infinite physics is still doing well for you, then it's probably still in pretty good condition. So like putting something in the middle there, I would think having something a little bit more angular might give you something different. So, I mean, it might be a little close, but overall hook, but definitely a different shape would be the blackout, the virtual energy. You would see a lot more motion down lane than you would out of either the hype solid or the infinite physics. If your infinite physics has seen better days, I think absolute power might be a good replacement for that ball. I like that one.
But want to play straighter, so
I still like the absolute power going straighter. Tina does. That's a good strong ball for Tina, and she doesn't really want to use too much angle.
True.
So
it stays on line pretty well.
Yeah. But it's a strong core, but it's not a very strong cover. And that's what I like taking advantage of with the asymmetrical balls now.
If you're looking for something longer and, that lets you stay more to the right than that hustles or maybe even the lightning blackout. Those balls flare in the range of the hyped, but a little cleaner and a little more responsive cover than the height is. Different way to go.
Rick says the 3, 6, 9, 10. Nah, Norm had my number on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one that's a 50-50. If there's hook to the right, then it's not that hard. And if there's not, then it's almost impossible.
That spare was way easier when I threw 16 pounds. Because if I basically got it right at the 3-pin, I'd spared it. Unless we were bowling on something really long. Now, it's a little humbling when you throw the one out and you think you've got it and it bounces off and you leave the 9-pin. I'm like, yeah, that didn't happen when I threw 16. Ever.
Does anybody throw 16 on tour anymore?
Not really.
Cooley?
Who?
Cooley?
No, I think he moved to 15 when he moved to Motive.
Did he? Yeah, there's not much.
That's one of the most common questions I get asked here at the training center.
It's
I mean,
Janowitz and a couple more on the senior tour, and
Cooley's saying 4. Hello. So maybe he does still. I don't know. I think he's one of those guys who, maybe he does. I know that Dom threw it last season and got through the season because he was stubborn, and then decided that he didn't want to do that anymore. Kevin McCune throws both. 16-pound black hammers are quite popular because the difference between the 15 and the 16 is quite significant, and half their staff, it feels like, is left-handed. So they're only using one ball. So having a different version of that one ball is quite valuable to them. Thank you for a great show, says Robert. Coach Bake, what are the keys for youth bowlers using two hands? As a coach, as I coach youth on a Saturday, 75% are doing two hands.
Yeah, I mean, really, I would really pay attention to how Jason Belmonte bowls. I would really work on trying to get them a little taller in the beginning, a little more swing, and then that when that ball gets back, they can move their feet faster. It's all about getting their body ahead of their swing, especially when they're little, because the ball does hook a lot when they don't throw it very hard. So they're all going to want to fire it with their shoulders, especially if you're teaching, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, because they get tired of getting 3 on the left. So as they get bigger, they'll get easier, but it's still about balance and timing. As I tell every day, balance is by far the most boring thing to work on, and balance is by far the most effective thing to work on. I mean, there's a reason why most of the pros post every shot. So it just gives you more consistency. So trying to really create a swing by staying taller. Look at Jason. He doesn't bend his knees the first couple steps. His ball swings back, then his hips drop once, and then he does all those things he does. Same with Anthony. He only drops his hips really once. So when they get their hips to drop and then they drive out of their right leg, either one or two power sources of two-hander, it's your right leg or your right shoulder. One creates really good stuff and one creates really, really bad stuff. So trying to get their bodies ahead of their swings and not try to use their shoulders too much.
As somebody who didn't know any way to help two-handers, Robert, I think that the $75 for Mark's video would give you a lot of help.
Yeah.
It'll
give you all the basics. It'll be explained in very, very good detail.
It made it much easier for me to want to do a lesson with a two-hander. Whereas I just felt like in the past, even if we were doing those one-tip things, I'd really try and focus on their bowling balls rather than anything else because I felt like I was just wasting their time. Larry, sorry, I didn't see it. My bad. He said, any Barnes Baker clinics coming to Texas again?
There's nothing on the books right now, but
starting to be a little more chatter. People wanting us to do it again. So
I was about to say, is that chatter by Chris?
Yeah, I'm finally done with after this next week. I'm finally done touring for the year. So
yeah,
Larry,
it's just schedules, and now Gage is in high school, and it's a little far. Like today, I had to get him to the bus at 7. So obviously he wasn't real happy with me today. So the school where Gage goes to school now is an extra 20 minutes of drive where he goes to high school. So our schedules at the house are a little different. So me being gone isn't quite as easy as before. So it's just a matter of we have enough work. Doing one day of clinic is not, prices have gone up. Things aren't cheap. So no matter how good Chris is at Priceline, they don't give us the room for free. And the rent-a-cars or the cars aren't free and the flights aren't free. So I don't really like traveling where the first day and a half I work, I'm breaking even. I mean, I'm a capitalist. So I like to make a buck or two. So being gone is tough. So it has to be a 4 or 5 day run. Obviously, Texas is big enough, and they got a lot of bowlers. So hopefully we can get that, because I do, and Chris and I work together. That is some of the most fun I have, is working with Chris.
Some of the most fun Chris has too.
You like some envelopes?
Yeah, I even buy dinner once in a while.
There you go.
All right. Well, I think we're good, Chris.
Yep.
I think we've finally run out of questions. Thanks for everybody who's contributed to part of the show. Yes, Missy is still crazy, and she still throws 16.
Wow, it's impressive. Amazing.
Any parting words?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate everything you do for my business and pushing the video, and it's always a pleasure to be on. I try to listen to you guys now I get a better chance because I'm dropping Gage off and I'm driving for 45 minutes in traffic, not 5 minutes. So I get to hear you guys, and always enjoyable to hear your show. You guys are doing a great job.
Well, that's very sweet of you.
No, you guys have gotten so much better at it. I mean, it's really fun to watch.
Well, I appreciate it. We should have improved a little bit, being as we've done it for about 4 years now.
4 years? 4 years with COVID, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
yeah.
Well, think about our lives pre-COVID, now COVID. The things you guys are doing now. My entire business, almost all the only thing I kept from my business pre-COVID is my camp, where I coach now is completely different. Virtual lessons has become really my second business. My virtual lessons has come. I mean, I could actually make a business out of it if I wanted to just do virtual lessons and hustle. I could probably almost make a business out of it. I wasn't doing either one of these things 4 years ago, and I was a fairly busy coach. So now there's different levels of busy, I guess. I didn't know. So careful what you want. And if you ever have a chance to have one of her bagels, you should jump on it. That might be not to insult anybody who's ever made me food. That's the best cook who's ever brought me food at a lesson. When she brings you beef or brisket with the au jus sauce and homemade sourdough bread, Laura Justman can flat cook.
There you go.
Put it this way. She's such a good cook, Chris would give her a free lesson.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I mean,
it better be really good, huh?
I'm about to say, only if Chris could sell the food.
There you go. I mean, she's brought me fresh matzo ball soup. Fresh matzo ball soup to the lanes. Oh, it's the best. She has little containers and an ice chest. It's the best. She moved to Reno. She left California, moved up to Reno. So I do miss my Wednesdays seeing her at the Winnetka Bowl. So she's the best.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks, Mark, for coming on. Once again, markbakerbowling.com. If you want to sign up for lessons, video lessons, buy the video, all the links will be there as well. The information you need to either set something up, any of those products, one way or the other, it will all be on there. Any new clinics, information for his camps in Vegas, all of that will be there as well. And
if there's a clinic involving Chris, you better believe that we'll be pushing it.
Yeah, you'll hear about that on here too. So we will be back probably next Thursday.
Yeah.
Tuesday we'll be at the League, which is coming up this weekend. Mark is the Evil Empire. Stu could care less. And
I will see you Saturday in Portland, Maine, Chris.
Hey, yeah. Chris, I'm still bitter about the Strike Derby. Leave me alone.
I understand. How the world's slowest bowler in history is in the Strike Derby, trying to throw the most strikes in 2 minutes.
Who's that?
Well,
which one?
Oh.
Archer. There aren't that many quick ones.
True.
I'm not sure Jasper's going to enjoy that too much.
You think he did last year too, right?
Yeah, and he wasn't very good last year, right?
Yeah, he got voted back in. Yeah.
Vi was good at it, wasn't he? Didn't Vi win?
Yeah. He got the invite as a defending champ. And then the house spot went to Arturo, the house hero.
Oh, I thought we were voting for all of the spots.
Apparently not.
Oh, okay. So Arturo got my spot. because our two teams didn't get anybody, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's basically the defending champion got a spot, and then Charlie got a spot. So
Cool.
And Charlie picked the closest resident.
Yeah.
That's like Charlie picked his employee.
On that note,
All I know is we'll be at Gilbert's Chowder House very soon.
yes, we will.
Yes, we will.
So, well, between now and then, please support the sponsors that support us. We'll see you next Thursday. Storm, Rotogrip, 900 Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. Thanks Mark.
Guys.
Thanks, mate. See you later.
That was a blast, as always. Talk to you soon.